Good morning, dear participants. We will begin the webinar in 2 minutes. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the webinar today entitled Operation Clean Sweep, Your Backyard, Your Responsibility. Now, this webinar is brought to you by the Malaysian Plastics Manufacturers Association, MPMA. My name is Crystal from MPMA, and I will be your MC for today. Before we begin the webinar today, let me just quickly run through some of the etiquette or rules of the webinar. We have muted and turned off video and the audio for all participants. This is to ensure that there will be no disruptions to the speakers during the webinar. We will allow all of you to turn on your microphone and video during the photography and Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Participants, you may post your questions related to the presentations in the chat box throughout the webinar. Speakers will only answer questions that are clearly written and based on the presentations. Kindly refrain from marketing your goods and services in the chat box. The chat box is only for queries related to the presentations. And lastly, the organizer reserves the right to remove participants who run afoul of the webinar etiquette. Next, I will just quickly run through the program for today. We will kick off the webinar with an opening remarks, followed by 3 presentations, one focusing on the structure of OCS Malaysia, and we have 2 other sharing sessions by 2 companies who have implemented OCS, and they will run through their journey with all of us. And then we will end the session with a group photography session and a Q&A session where you can post your questions to the speakers. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us begin the webinar today with opening remarks by Ms. Wee Ching Yun, the MPMA Vice President, as well as Chairman of MPMA Sustainability Subcommittee. Over to you, Ms. Wee.
Thank you, Crystal. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Malaysian Plastics Manufacturers Association, MPMA, it gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you this morning to the Operation Clean Sweep, Your Backyard, Your Responsibility webinar 2023. The issue of plastic pollution has evolved from the mismanagement of post-consumer plastic waste to the improper handling of plastic pellets or resins during the production process. Industrial pre-consumer pellets represent a significant form of plastic pollution that has been reported present on shorelines worldwide. When these pellets are spilled or discarded, they find their ways into drainage systems and circulate through surface waters, including rivers, lakes, seas, and oceans, ultimately accumulating along shorelines. Therefore, this highlights the need for all of us as industry players to take responsibility for our plastic waste and be accountable for the generation, spillage, and leakage of plastic pellets at every stage of the industrial process, including manufacturing, transportation, and recycling. Having said that, MPMA has consistently championed sustainability and responsible plastic waste management. We firmly believe that this approach is pivotal in effectively tackling the issue of plastics pollution. It's essential to learn and understand plastics pellet management and the correct way to handle them to prevent plastic leakage into the environment. While the waste management industry and consumers are responsible for the appropriate disposal and processing of consumer waste, the entire plastic industry must focus on safe handling of plastic pellets throughout the value chain. Operation Clean Sweep, better known as OCS, is an international program that strives to prevent plastic pellet, flake, and powder loss and to ensure that these materials don't end up in the environment. With this program, companies from plastic industry's value chain commit to the implementation of good housekeeping practices and contribute to a clean environment with zero pellet loss. Plastic manufacturers, processors, distributors, logistics, and recycling companies all share a common goal. It is to ensure that there is no plastic pellet loss. The responsible handling of plastic pellets are not only protects the environment but also allows for a more efficient processing of the products. Therefore, this Operation Clean Sweep, Your Backyard, Your Responsibility webinar is designed to serve as an important sharing platform. We are truly honored to have subject matter expert speakers from Dow Chemical and Thong Industries Berhad to share their hands-on experiences with us today. So do take full advantage of this session to ask any questions on OCS. Last but not least, our gratitude to all of you for participating in this webinar today. We wish each of you an insightful session and hope that by gaining a comprehensive understanding of this program, you will encourage your company to sign up for Operation Clean Sweep, and collectively we create a sustainable plastic industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tui, for the opening remarks. We hope that it will gears up all the participants today for the webinar. So without wasting any more time, let us begin, and I will be introducing our first speaker for today, Ms. Nurhanis Zulkarnain. She recently joined MPMA as an executive under the Sustainability Department. She holds a Master of Science in Environmental Technology and has been engaged in research on plastics waste utilization. So in her current role, she is responsible for various association projects and programs related to sustainability, and she is the primary contact person for OCS Malaysia program. So with that, Hanis, over to you.
All right, thank you very much for the introduction, Crystal. Hello, everyone. Good morning to all of you. Thank you very much for joining this webinar. which I really hope that at the end of this webinar, you could understand much more about the what this Operation Clean Sweep is all about. All right, so this is why we are organizing this webinar, because we want to reshare and reintroduce to you what this Operation Clean Sweep is all about. So we would like to give you a brief introduction, as well as to share with you what is the benefits and value from this program. So all this while we have been talking about the plastic pollutions. How can I? All right, all this while we have been talking about plastic pollutions, where we have been feeding up with a lot of different pictures about animals ingesting plastics, or to be specific, microplastics. And then we also keep hearing the statement of ocean is no longer an ocean, but it's already turning into a plastic soup because of the plastic waste that have been floating around in the oceans. And unfortunately, the plastic industry has taken the blame for this issue. So the issue of plastic waste pollution is no longer attributed or solely attributed to the mismanagement of plastic waste from the consumers, but it also has been reported that the plastic waste that were found in the shorelines and oceans could be originate from the industrial plastic resins. So this actually could happen due to the runoff of the industrial plastic resins from this improper handling plastic resin in throughout the industrial process, as well as through runoff from a discharge or via discharge water and effluent from our plant. So this due to this has actually increased the concerns on the plastic waste pollutions, especially among the publics, the governmental agencies, the NGOs, and other organizations. So this is why I think we, as the industrial key players, I think it is imperative for us to find an initiative and to do some effort in order to address these environmental problems. While the consumers are, finding a way to improve their mismanagement of plastic waste, and we, as industrial key players, have to take initiative to address these environmental problems. So hence why OCS program, or Operation Clean Sweep, is actually been initiated by American Chemical Council and the Plastic Industry Association in order to work towards achieving zero pellet, flake, and powder loss. So this program was overall to minimize the environmental footprint associated with the plastic industry, as well as to help you to establish a good housekeeping and containment practices. So this program was not specifically, targeted to plastic manufacturers, but to all key players in the plastic industry, which could be the petrochemical companies, the raw material suppliers, transporters, strippers, and even recyclers. So for information, this OCS program has been operated in more than 60 countries internationally, and we, the MPMA, is the international program partner or licensees for OCS program in Malaysia. So we have launched this OCS program in last year on 8 December, and as of today, we have about more than 20 companies who have signed up with the OCS program in order to commit to reduce the pellet loss in their own premises. So I bet you are wondering why this OCS need to be conducted. What is the value from this Operation Clean Sweep overall? So the main goal for this Operation Clean Sweep is basically, to have a best plastic pellet management in your own company in order to prevent spills and leaks of your own plastic resins. So from this program, you would be guide how to, have a good containment system, to have a recovery system to recover your spills and leak plastic resin in your own premises. So this program was not focusing on to address the environmental problems on plastic pellet loss into environment, but it's also kind of like help you to improve your operational efficiency by recover your industrial plastic resins and maximize the use of feedstocks. So those recovered recycled plastic resins will be one of your resource to your another plastic products, but also can be your own resource to the recyclers. So overall, these operating suites will help you to improve your company's reputations or environmental image, which you are addressing these environmental problems, as well as to increasingly important to attract the others or international investors and other qualified employees. So this overall will give you a big chance and opportunity for you to adopt sustainability and ESG principles in your own company. All right, so in order to, for this program, we are actually have two different types of members, which we have a partner pledge, the first, and the second is a supporter pledge. So what's the difference between these two is the partner pledge are focusing on companies who are manufacturing or handling plastic resins. So in the form of pellet, flake, or powder. So these could be the raw material suppliers, transporters, shippers, manufacturers, and even recyclers. But for supporter pledge is for those organizations that are not associated with any plastic resin. So this could be, support the program under supporter pledge. So how to register these two pledge is basically we have provided an OCS website where you actually can go to the registration form in order for you to fill up the form. And then once we have received your registration, then we can provide you the program manual as well as the pledge certificate. So for partner pledge, each pledge is only valid for 3 years and it needs to be renewed when expired. So you have about 3 years of time to implement all your SAS practices where you have to do some audits, identify your gaps and find the solution to close your gaps in your companies. But for supporter pledge, the pledge for this type of pledge is only valid for 1 year and it needs to be renewed when expired. So since this is a supporter pledge, they have to conduct at least one of the following activities, which could be, perform outreach to other potential OCS partners to encourage them to join the OCS program, or perhaps could present education information on OCS program through social media and web properties, or publish educational information on scientific or technical journal. So this is basically how supporter pledge could support this program. Okay, like I mentioned just now, the partner plans, once you have signed up with the program, you will receive two different documents, which first is the program manual, will we act as your reference and guidance to implement the OCS practice in your premises. And second is a pledge certificate. So this is the main thing about the implementation of OCS practice, where you have to do 5 different things. So the first is when you have signed up with OCS practice, when you have signed up with the OCS program, you have to commit to making a zero pellet loss as a priority. So you have to understand the OCS principle, how this program was actually been done. Second is about the assess your company's needs and situations. This is you have to perform the site audit to identify the gap that you have in your own premises, identify the areas which are the hotspots that could have metal spills in your own companies. Third is to make necessary upgrades in facilities and equipment. So from your own audit result, you have to develop solutions or procedures to address those gaps. And fourth is raise employee awareness and create accountability among your employees. So this actually could be done by establish written procedures, review back what is the SOPs for cleanup or handling these plastic resins, and assign the responsibility for each sections and department of your company. And lastly is to follow up on your implementations, how it has been conducted, how the successful of these solutions that you have implemented in your own company. Right. Moving on to the first thing which you have to do when you sign up with the OCS is about performing a site audit, or in other words, is a gap analysis. So in this site audit, you are actually have to do an audit, where the audit here is not referring to the certification audit, but it's more like you need to do an internal audit where you actually can assign or annotate any relevant this department or section to do an audit for you in your company. So the audit here is actually to just identify the major spill areas. What is the hotspots? What is the potential areas that could happen any spills or leaks of your plastic resins? And then you also need to determine the cause of spills in each area of your companies. So once you have the results on your audits, you have to find research ways, what is the best solution that can solve your problems in your own company. And once you have decided on the simplest effective solution, you have to implement it and follow up to measure success and applicability of those solutions in your company. So these are the audit checklists that we have provided in the program manual. So you actually can use these to ease your audit process. So there will be a different cases, different areas that being stated here. And then you have to find what is the cause of spills. Is there any spill potential in this area? And then the implementation date for us to update about the implementation or solution that you have done for each area. So these are, perhaps I actually can give you some of the samples of zero pellet loss that, implementations that you actually can do in your own company. In terms of workplace setup, this include the facilities used, like for example, the additional funnels to ensure the pallets that cannot fall out at sites, and then the installation of soft sticks on forklifts to prevent tearings of bags of plastic resins, as well as the closed loading system to prevent any spill during loading. And then this is also for prevention, containment and cleanup system, where you actually can install any second tanks or drainage sieve to avoid any runoff of the plastic resin through the discharge water or effluent in your plants. And this program was not only focusing on the physical implementations, like what I showed just now, but it's also included with the employee training program, where you have to have, you have to raise employee awareness about this program, as well as the goals towards the zero pellet loss in your own premises. So you need to establish the procedures, review the SOPs, write procedures on safe handling plastic resins in your own company, as well as to launch the training program to define your role play or responsibility of each sections and each positions for this program. So we hope that with this program, it actually could provide you the best practice pellet management at every operation or process, which perhaps previously you may have spills and leakage of plastic resins at, perhaps in transportation, storage, or recycling, but in a way that this program could, help you to have a good recovery containment system of plastic resins in your own company. So let's move on to the timeline of OCS that we have planned for this program, where for the partner pledge, you have the 3 years of implementations to do the OCS practices. So in the first 2 years, you will be given the time to do the audits, the implementation, find ways to close the gaps of your companies. But move on to the 3rd years of the program, we are planning to do an certification audit before the expiry date of your own pledge certificate. So this certification audit will, we will evaluate how you do your own implementation in your own company. So once we have seen your implementation and we agree to all these OCS practice that you have done in your own company, we'll issue you a certificate of compliance where to certify your implementation on OCS practice. And this certificate of compliance will enable you to renew a new pledge certificate for you to keep continuing and improving the OCS implementation in your own premises. All right, that's all from me. I think with the few explanations just now could give a bit knowledge and information about OCS program, and I hope later the 2 speakers will share you more about the zero pellet loss implementation that have been done in their own company. So I hope many more companies would join us and sign up with the OCS program in order to commit together to commit in achieving towards the goal of zero pellet loss in plastic pellet loss in environment. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention, and back to you, Auntie.
Thank you, Hanis, for the presentation. Dear participants, if you have questions with regards to the OCS Malaysia structure, and if you are unclear of what is to be done, feel free to post your questions in the chat box. We will try to address them directly in the chat box or during Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So with that, let us move on to the next presentation. The next two papers will focus on individual companies who have implemented OCS, and they will be sharing their journey, and I would say what would be their what they have learned or gained from implementing the OCS program. So the first sharing is by Mr. Jaden On. Jaden is the Market Development Manager for Southeast Asia region, Australia and New Zealand for Dow's Packaging and Specialty Plastics business. And he is responsible for the implementation of regional marketing strategy focusing on PE and specialty resins product, as well as collaborating with value chain partners in the packaging industry to achieve sustainability goals. And he joined Dow in 2018, and he took up this current regional role in 2022. So with that, Jaden, over to you.
Thank you so much, Crystal, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. This is Jaden speaking. Yeah, I think, is very happy to be here today. So first of all, I think I just want to share show the appreciation to MPMA for hosting this session. And, give me a moment while I'm trying to share my screen. Yeah, I hope everyone can see the screen. Yeah, I just want to say thank you once again to MPMA for hosting this session, as they are always has been a very dedicated partner in Malaysia, driving all this sustainability initiative. And also thank you very much for having us today. And I think just now from the theme itself, I really like the tagline, your backyard, your responsibility. I think this is all about the awareness sharing with all the industry players in Malaysia today, understand about ocean clean sweep, what is that. And I think Hanis also did a great job of sharing all the details. Without further ado, and also one more point, I think you, as Crystal mentioned in the chat box, you can probably also see there's some active discussion over there. Please keep it going. And I just want to also introduce my colleague, Neha. My colleague from India, and she's currently our focal point for OCS in Dow. So she will also be helping for any questions. So like also we mentioned, please take this full use of the session. And this is a journey, and OCS is not something it might not be familiar to everybody right now, but it's going to be very important to the industry. So we are all learning together. Please put all your questions in the chat box, and you can also leave it to the Q&A session later and let us know, and we can work together on that. Okay, and move on to the presentation. In fact, I would also like to start with some of the background sharing on Operation Clean Sweep. So, there might be some repeating content as Hanis already presented. Then, so this is so important that every presentation is keep repeating the details. So we want to make sure that everybody really understand what OCS is. So this is a program started in US, but this is all about best practices sharing, because I think we have a lot of great participation today. You have been in the industry or in the plastic industry, plastic production for many years, and this might be already like a something that you are so familiar with on the operation. But right now, with this kind of sustainability trend that we are seeing, and of course some observations, some voices from the market saying that plastic might not be good, but we all know this is something we need to work on from education level to advocacy level, to make sure that everybody is on the same page, that plastic industry is valuable industry that is helping the everyone in our daily life, right? So I think with that kind of initiative that we are trying to promote to the market, we ourselves in the industry, starting from like Dow, we are a material science company, we are a manufacturer, petrochemical company. So starting from us, we need to make sure that whatever we do within our facilities or within our control has to be aligned with those the things that we are trying to bring to the consumer or to the government. For example, like we are trying to promote design for recyclability, for example, on the flexible packaging. But if we can't even manage or handle the raw material properly, it's going to be contradicting, right? So this is all about best practices, and we want to go through this process, this journey together, and share what we can do together. And slowly we implement, through the training to your staff, and then setting up the SOP. I think you heard all these ways that we can make it better. So we will all together as an industry bring a positive image in front of the market, in front of the government, that we are responsible in this plastic industry. So yeah, this is just to give you an pictorial view. So it started from the US, but you can see like the progress across the globe. OCS is really making the progress, and hopefully it will further proliferate, and all the countries, all the industry players will start committing to this and make sure that there's really like zero pellet go into the environment. And so today, I think maybe we focus more into the region that we are in, which is in Asia Pacific, and particularly in Southeast Asia. So from Dow, actually, we are a US company, but in Asia, we also have a footprint. And what we are trying to do is, because we are still pretty upstream in the value chain, so we are the manufacturer. So of course, we can work with our customer, which is the converter, from time to time, like sharing all this kind of awareness to them as well. But we do need the support through the local chambers, the industry associations. For example, like NPMA, as I mentioned, they have been very committed and a dedicated partner working towards a lot of great initiatives. So they play a very important role here, working together with Dow, and also all the extensive network that they have in Malaysia. So really appreciate. And you can see from the screen, other than Malaysia, across Asia Pacific, we also work with different associations to make sure that we have different channels to share the information and raise the awareness to the industry players on the importance of OCS. So this is not going to be an overnight thing that we can change, but throughout the whole journey, we see a lot of progress already in Asia Pacific. So these are the partners that we are currently working. And for what converters or distributors can do. So I think, like I say, repeating again, this is not one person, that one party can make the whole changes. So I think everyone in the value chain is important. So from Dow, as a petrochemical company, we have tried our best and we have done our part. And right now, what we want to do is we also want to make sure that our valued customer that is using our material, because we all know that plastic pellet is valuable. So on top of that, we can also make sure that this is supporting the sustainability effort, protecting the planet. So so this is also something that we want our converters to see the value, and including the transporters, the distributors, not going to waste any single pellet and throughout the process. So yeah, this is something that I want to share. And in terms of how you want to participate or how you want to commit, I think the MPMA team already shared it very clearly. And I understand that they have an offshore website where you can go in to find out more in terms of the information, and you can actually also sign up in the website. So do look out for that one, and you can just go to MPMA official website or reach out to the team for more information on the be part of the OCS program in Malaysia. Yeah, and some of the best practices, and I think just now Hanis also mentioned a bit, but we just want to put up a few more examples here. So of course, proper housekeeping. That's why you need to set up a process, a standard work procedure to make sure that everybody is aware of the importance of not letting the pellets or any plastic particles go into the environment. So the work process is very important to contain everything within the facilities and a proper disposal, right? So for the for example, like you have to properly empty and seal trucks and the rail cars, and of course also provide the catch tray for use at unloading valves to make sure that nothing is leaked. And I think just now this was the example shared also, design the pumps with the system. So all this kind of initiative the industry players can consider by implementing it for this OCS. And of course, there will be a more detailed guidelines in the OCS manual. So once you sign up, or I think you can also find out a lot of more information before you sign up. So do reach out and look for the information. So that will help your company to implement and to this kind of commitment to Operation Clean Sweep. And this one again is all about awareness and this kind of guidelines that can give your company and also your employee to really understand, give them a clear instruction on how to perform their daily work, and make sure that zero pellet, zero flake, and powder leak to the environment or outside of your facilities. So with that, you can regularly provide training and encourage them joining webinar like this, hearing from the MPMA, and exchange ideas with industry partners. And I think you can also encourage your employees to be part of the commitment as well. So this is not just for your company to be committed, with your staff, with your employee, to also be committed. I think it will make the program even more successful and the implementation more successful at your company. So I think I mentioned a little bit, but this is just more focused on the Dow in Asia Pacific point of view, because Dow is a US company and we do have manufacturing sites all over the world. But in Asia Pacific, we also have manufacturing sites. But other than that, a lot of our facilities will be focusing on like logistics and this kind of facilities. So as I said, this is not just like the manufacturer or it's just the plastic converters. So it's really through the whole value chain, right? So throughout the transportation, we also have to make sure, like in the warehouse, while you're handling all the plastic pallets, the products, make sure that there's no leakage, or if there is some leakages, how you deal with it, how you handle it. So starting from 2019, we have worked with our logistic team internally on this kind of OCS implementation across all the sites. And in Asia, we have about 30 warehouse and sites, and also with the logistic vendor, we also encourage them to be committed in this kind of program like OCS. So, yep. And of course, we will, once you sign up, I think we also mentioned there will be a regular audit to make sure that we are all on track and and understand where the gap is to further improve in terms of the implementation. And yeah, just some other examples that we implemented in DAO warehouse in Asia Pacific. So I think you can see some of the initiative, like about the pallet handling. So we actually install the searchlight just to make sure that the person who is performing the job can see it clearly, to avoid or prevent breaking the pallets and cause the leakage. And of course, the skill of the employee is very important. So back to the training point that I've been mentioning. So make sure that they know how to do the job properly. And of course, we also encourage like installing plates between the stacking goods, and continue to review the performance of the employees is also important, and also get the feedback and know how they work, to make sure that you have a right process in place. And in terms of how we actually control the plastic pallet escape, I think you can see some of the pictures here as well. Make sure that we have a daily check and deep cleaning with the vacuum cleaner, and even with dedicated recycle bin will also be some of the initiatives that you can do. And there will be transportation in and out your facilities. I think another important point is also making you can try to implement by have a deep cleaning of the truck. Even like the tire, I couldn't imagine that, but that's one of the way that if there is some plastic pellet on the ground, I'm imagining that, so it might be brought out with this kind of method and eventually go to the environment. So small steps or small observation like this can really change. So this is all about the idea that having this kind of awareness, so like we all will do our best to avoid this kind of leakage at our best. And of course, you can install the filter around the sewers in the working area. So also some of the preventive measures here that we can do. So yep, that's about it I want to share with everyone today. I will pass the time back to Crystal, and maybe we will address more Q&A later. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jaden, for your presentation. Hopefully, the participants have gained some knowledge, some on-the-ground ideas of how you can implement certain measures under the OCS program. Now we will move on to the last speaker for today. She is Miss Chai Li Hua. Miss Chai is the Senior Sustainability Manager of Thong Guan Industries Berhad, a public listed company under Bursa Malaysia, and she oversees the creation and implementation of the group's sustainability strategy. And of course, is to incorporate the various elements of ESG into Thong Guan day-to-day business. So with over 80 years of business operations, Thong Guan is very advanced, very well diversified in various plastic packaging product and food and beverage businesses, export to over 70 countries. So Thong Guan is one of the very first converters to actually sign up for OCS as well. So we are very honored to have Ms. Chai here to share with us how Thong Guan implement OCS and how does it benefit the company. So with that, Ms. Chai, over to you.
Thank you, Crystal, for the introductions. Let me share my screen first. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm Chai. You can call me Li Hua. I'm the Senior Sustainability Managers from Thong Guan Industries Berhad. We are actually very honored to be invited by MPMA today to participate in these events and to share our experience about these OCS implementations. Actually, it's Crystal shared just now. Actually, we just get to know the OCS programs not long ago. Most probably is actually last December 2022. Okay, when the MPMA launched these OCS programs and officially launched this OCS program with Petronas. And actually at the time, so it's actually a virtual. I remember it's actually a virtual launching ceremonies, and it so happened actually all of our executive directors actually joined that event. And immediately after the virtual launching ceremony, right, they actually called me and say, hey, Li Hua, hey, this is actually a very good program, and you got to find out from the MPMA and how to sign up, and said what are the checklists that are available. So actually we have to participate, and we have to follow the fundamental guidelines of this OCS. So, and actually on the very same day, actually I called Crystal, and she said, oh, we want to join, and any materials to share or not. And yeah, and then after that Crystal shares the materials and the website with us, and that is how we started it. And of course, today, actually we also hope that actually we can bring the same impact after these webinars, more MPM members would say oh, Crystal, I want to sign up this program. Yeah. And to support this program as well. I will later in the later parts of my presentations or share some benefits that we gain from these implementations. Yeah. And I think I don't have to go through the details of the objective or the MPA because Hanis and Jadens have already shared a lot of it. And I think I'll actually go straight to the what we have done after signing up this OCF program. Okay. Actually, there are three parts of my presentations. Basically, we'll talk about the containment systems. It's actually the systems that we should put in place to prevent the plastics from getting into the waterways and then eventually go to the oceans. And also the second part, we'll talk about these areas and activities that's after discussions with the group, so that we have identified that there are actually the spillage will actually occur more in the premise, and also the lastly is actually these benefits and the challenges that they have faced when it comes to the implementations. Okay. Yeah, we go to the next slide. Yeah, the containment systems is actually to prevent the plastic resin from escaping your plant's boundaries, and the drains, this drain screen is actually the final defense against the accidentals like plastics resin release. So we actually install these aluminium drain screens within the first week after actually our first internal OCS meeting. And I remember that this is the first thing that we did. Okay, and also then after that, subsequently, we actually also asked our engineering team to come up with designs of this. We actually call it a resin grease trap or a pellets collectors or so that's we install it at the ends of the outlets of the drainage. So it's actually the final catches to avoid all these pellets that going out to the waterways . And one thing that actually wants to remind that actually we actually have to clean. It's actually the maintenance is actually very important, and we have to clean the screens very frequently, and like in our site is actually a weekly basis. That's to prevent the clogging and the overflow. Okay, and then we also like build these brick barricades. We actually can see in the next slides. Yeah, you actually see the before and after, right? That's before. There's actually no this the brick barricades here, and yeah, we also there's actually this this concrete bar and the screens. Okay, there's a screen is actually to allow the waters to flow through lah. But the thing is the screens, the size of the screen actually have to be small enough to make sure that it's actually can actually like to prevent these plastic resins going through the screen. So but like what we say is actually the maintenance is still like very important for this. Okay, and but so one thing is actually it's like this is still the last lines of the defense. So the more effective ways of like to prevent the plastics that go nearer, even though go nearer to the drain is actually is once there's actually a leakage of these plastics bags, these resin bags, or like any spillage like occur, right? We actually should clean it up immediately. And actually it's like the dry clean up method is actually much more effective. And instead of actually we have to go it to collect it from the drain, you see. And so yeah, so once like we implement like this kind of practice, right, then we actually also notice that actually the plastic resins that end up in the these grease traps become lesser and lesser. Yeah. Okay, and then the next one we actually have like these the areas and the activities that's we identify where actually the spillage will occur more often. This is actually the handling of the material. We also install this the forklift stopper. Okay, because actually we get the feedback from like the productions and the warehouse people, and we understand that we do have the issues where the forklift is too longer than your woodens and the plastic pallets, so that the forklift can accidentally poke and this damage the resin bag. So we install these the stoppers to ensure that the forklift is within the pallets, and so you actually can see here is actually within the pallets, and so that it's to minimize the accidents. And of course, we also listen to the feedback from the users, and so we try to customize it that suits our needs. And like so they actually they say, oh, I we need like these upright supports, so that actually when the transfer of the material is actually more stable, and then we actually want the curve to be the edge to be a bit curvy, so that it's actually to avoid like stabbing it to the material bags. And so at the end we actually like ask our engineering team to customize it. So I think it's actually the tools and the jigs and the tools actually have to like suitable for the operations people for their usage as well. And one thing good about this thing also we see that actually is they are removable, so they also like it as like or when they need the longer forks, then they actually just stick it out. So yeah, but still we actually keep like reminding our production site workers, like when actually if let's say there's accidents that happen, that's you have like this leak plastic bag, then you actually should repair and replace the packaging that immediately. So that's like you seal a leak, right, when it occur, it's actually much more easier than you have to sweep the like 300 meters like of warehouse. So yeah, we try to fix the problems on the spot. Yeah. And the next slide. Yeah. And this is also the other areas that we identify is actually about the storage of the materials. And we usually store them in this plastic bins, and we notice that, let's say without the cover system, right, sometimes the plastic resin is actually too full for the plastic bins, and they overflow, and so that's we start to have the cover for the bin and to eliminate the issues. And another plus point, right, for this is actually also helps to minimize the dirt and also the contaminations in the plastic resins. Yeah. This is about the incoming materials. Okay, that's another area that we identify. So actually, if we notice that even before loadings of the materials, right, there's already the leakage already happened, and so we actually like have a WhatsApp group, okay, to involve our QA heads and also like logistic heads, and when that such incidents happens, right, they will actually inform them immediately, okay, and so that actually the QA can actually report to the manufacturers, and also like if there's needs, like actually the logistics head can report to this, can notify the transporter. So yeah, it's sometimes we understand that this the broken plastic bag is actually the amount is not big, but the thing is, it's not really about the money, okay, because actually it's some plastic resins here and then a handful there, then we actually add up, it could be a lot, and also it's also about the our responsibilities like to environments lah. So even though like the small amount of the these broken plastic bag, we actually also encourage like our staff to make the report, because like sometimes actually we just want to like save hassles of like doing the reporting. Yeah. Okay. And this one is actually like about the material stacking systems. We actually also this is actually we learned from one of the webinar by this Interplus group. Okay, sharing of this like the material stacking systems. We find that this like 2x2+1 pyramid stacking system, or the 3x2+2, is actually very helpful, and we also like encourage like, our people like to do the stacking in this way, and especially you need to leave this walkway, like maybe the 2 foot walkway here, and so that when you actually move the material at the time, it's actually easier and much more convenient. And they also, even though I do a marking here to tell the people, they say, oh, okay, this is the beside this the marking, you're actually supposed to leave the 2 foot walkway lah. And yeah, we trying to we actually try to implement this in our premise as well. I say still I got some works I do, and but because we actually understand like there's you know, like sometimes the limitations of the storage space, and yeah, but we this is actually a good system that I think we actually we can share lah. Yeah. And the last one is actually about like the employees to have access to equipment where the spills occur. So actually we outfitting the forklift with the cleanup kits, like for example brooms and the dustpans, so that actually when they need it, actually they have like a ready equipment for them. Okay, and also like to provide them the repair tapes, like to tape the leaks immediately. So and of course like the clean workplace also, it will actually reduce the workplace accidents and the reduce slips and falls, and also like improve the employees' morale. And the last ones that we want to share is actually we actually started in December, and like after like in last month, we actually do a quantifications, like reporting, like the internal reports lah, on like what's like kind of like an impact or like the savings that we have. We actually can see there's a significant reduce in the material waste. we actually our site we actually call it sweeping materials, and we actually can see that this amount reduced significantly by 40%. Like if let's say we extrapolate it, okay, and translate it to the annual cost saving is about like a 300K per year. And other than that, other than monetary, like this bottom line that actually we can see, the most importantly is actually also like we see the improving of the 5S in the premise, like because the OCS is about like promotes the good housekeeping practice, and it's actually improve the overall 5S of the facility grounds. Yeah. And this is also a good chance that actually is like we can cultivate and promote the cultures and the practice for no loss to environments and amongst employees and also to our stakeholders. Yeah, to raise awareness, and of course like there will be a trainings like provided like but it's actually designed by each of the departments lah. So like the forklift driver, we actually have like a formal trainings like for the forklift drivers, like how they're actually supposed to handle the materials, and like if let's say it's like the production side, how they actually should empty the bags, and there's a procedures that there's a trainings that needed for that, and at the same time it's also increase the awareness of this. This is the last ones, that the challenges that we face is actually the consistency. Okay, it's actually not so easy to build a new company-wide cultures. It's just the behaviors of the peoples, and like how people's like behave and used to like certain like practice. Is actually you need a consistent like monitoring system as well. So like we actually have a monitoring teams like to go around the factories and like to take the photo and share in the group, and have to like consistency remind each others that you have to change what you practice in the past. So yeah. So this is the consistent like and formalized training and checklist is also yeah, it's a must. Yep. That's all for my presentations. Yeah, it's like maybe later like Crystal, we actually have like a Q&A sessions, or is there any questions that like the participants like want to ask?
Thank you, Ms. Chai. Thank you. Yeah, we have a few questions in the chat box, which we can go through after this. Some are answered directly in the chat box as well. But before we move on addressing some of these questions, perhaps let us just quickly take a group photo. So, dear participants, if you could just switch on your video, then we could quickly do so. Ms. Chai, you gotta stop sharing your screen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So participants, if you could just quickly on your camera. Are we ready? Okay, let us quick one. Okay, let us just do a quick countdown now. 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Got it, huh? Okay, thank you so much. So, but please don't leave as yet. This is the critical time where we address whatever questions that you have. So some of the questions I think are directly answered, but if you have any burning questions, feel free to also still continue to post them. But before that, maybe I actually have one question to Jayden. As Jayden mentioned, you work a lot with a lot of stakeholders and value chain partners throughout the region, so many countries. And how do you see this OCS, in the coming years, coming months? How impactful will this program be, and how will it potentially bring the industry into the next level in terms of the industry's commitment towards environmental protection?
Thank you for your question, Crystal. Yeah, I think maybe since my colleague, as I mentioned earlier, she is the focal point. Maybe Neha, you want to take this question up to share your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. So hi, Crystal, and hello, everybody. It's so good, firstly, to see all the customers here, on the webinar today, and a lot of queries that we see on the chat. So it is already a positive signal that people are they've already started to think about OCS already. Now coming back to your question, Crystal. So yeah, I mean, OCS is a global program. It started in North America. However, it is picking up a very good pace in other regions as well, such as Europe, Latin America, and Asia Pacific. And if you recall, like one of the slides that Jayden shared was, with regards to all the chambers here in Asia Pacific. So we definitely need support of all the local chambers here in Asia Pacific to make this possible and to drive this ahead. And all the more it is important that our customers who are a very critical, who have a very critical role to play here, because what is happening that globally plastics industry is being criticized by the government bodies, the local NGOs, and there are protesters against the plastic industry. So what will happen that, once a customer, they sign up or take the pledge for OCS, I think it sends out a very strong message out there to the whole of community that, yes, I want to act as a very responsible member of the plastics industry. And like today we saw a customer sharing, and I was so impressed by some of the initiatives that they've already implemented at their plant. And if we look at it, this is not something very difficult to also identify the gaps at our plant. I think most of these solutions were very much achievable and doable. So if you ask me the scope of it, like the growth of the program, I would ideally say that I think it is the need of the hour. It is also the right thing to do. We may not see very direct tangibles here, but what's most important is, are we acting as very responsible members towards creating a sustainable environment? We as plastics industry advocates, if we also move a step forward in like containing the pellet loss in the environment, I think it definitely sends out a very strong message to the community and to the industry and to the government bodies as well, that yes, you're taking charge of whatever plastic resins you deal with. So I think there is immense scope for growth. We just need a lot of support from the customers that we have here. And let me also emphasize that, yes, it is a voluntary program. It is not a mandatory program. But again, having said that, I think it is imperative if one takes the ownership and implement some of the best practices, and then sign up for the pledge at MPMA. And I also want to thank MPMA for such a clear, crystal clear description of the program. I think I think it was a very, very much value addition today in the seminar. So yeah, I'm open to receiving more questions from the customers, and hopefully Jaden and I, we can respond to the customers as well. So please make best use of this time today to share your thoughts, and if any queries are there, we are more than happy to address.
Thank you so much, Neha, for the sharing. Thank you, Jaden. There's one question in the chat box by Suta. How to recycle plastic pellets? Maybe I could rephrase where maybe Ms. Chai could chip in here. Those pellets that you have collected from the floor, for example, what do you do with it? Does it go to a recycler, or do you clean it and put it back into your production line?
Yeah, actually it's like for our sites after we collect it ready, and then we will actually do some these clean up, okay, to remove those very the dirts and of these pellets. And we usually, if let's say it's not too contaminated, then we actually send it to our own recycling facilities to use it back. Okay, and if it's actually we actually are not able to handle the contaminations, then we actually will have to send it to the bigger recycling facilities, because actually our own plants, we still don't have the washing line. Yeah. So this is how we usually after collected ready, then we, if possible, we actually will recycle it and use back. It depends on the levels of contaminations. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Ms. Chai. There's a question about cost-saving benefits and examples. I think, Ms. Chai, you did share a bit at the end of your presentation. Is there anything you would like to add to that? Anything else?
Yeah, I think what I said also like I shared just now. Cost saving is actually part of it, the benefits that actually we can see, and that's the most importantly actually we see is actually the overall 5S improvements in the plants. Yeah, and actually we started with one of the facilities, and then it's the other plant managers, after seeing this implementations, he himself had come and approached us that says that, oh, they see that actually the overall 5S is actually improved a lot, and he also want to participate. So that's why he also asked me to help him to sign up this program together. Yeah. So at the end, we I think 5 of our subsidiaries sign up these programs. Yeah, all the plastics manufacturing facilities. Yeah.
Awesome. There's one question about KPI used to measure the success of OCS. Well, for MPMA, as we operate OCS in Malaysia at this point of time, our focus is actually to get as many members as possible to sign up. As what I echo what Neha mentioned, that once we have companies sign up, it sends a very strong message and signal out there that the industry is serious about taking steps to protect the environment and prevent plastic pollution. Maybe Neha could add a little bit where from other OCS operators within the region. I think this is where MPMA can also learn. Is there any specific KPI that they look for? And how can we, incorporate that into OCS Malaysia program to be able to bring our program, to become more effective in that way?
Yeah, so I think globally, every local chamber is driving it in their own way. There's no set format, but again, the pledge, validity, and the audit practices, those are some of the things that are, I would say more or less stable. But other practices such as self-audit or a third-party audit, these are some of the things that many of the local chambers are looking at. most likely what I understand from the director of OCS North America, that most likely from next year, there may be some emphasis on a third-party audit. So there's OCS Blue Ocean that typically conducts the third party, so they are a third party which conducts the audit for the customers to ensure that they have implemented the best practices. What I see here today from the description that MPMA has shared is that first the customer can come and take the pledge, and then subsequently, they implement the best practices throughout the year, and then after a year they come back and submit a report. I see a little different format in most of the other chambers, wherein what happens is that customer, they reach out to the local association expressing their interest to sign up for the pledge for OCS. And then based on their discussion, they go back, conduct a self-audit, and implement the best practices. Then there is a way in which the local association, they want to kind of ensure that the best practices are actually implemented and not just there on paper. So they validate that through some resources or through some pictures, etc. Then they finally accept the pledge taking of the customer at the association. However, at MPMA, I see a different format, but I don't think there is anything wrong with this format. You can continue with this format as well. But as long as the customers are implementing the best practices, I think this is what is most important. I like the sharing by the customer today. So I think they've already implemented really good practices, and as long as the association is taking annual reports from the customer, I think it should be good to go. Yeah.
Thank you, Neha, for that. Since we are talking about this structure and perhaps the need to have certain auditing to ensure that companies implement it, I think that is also one area which MPMA is currently looking at. We would also like to track the progress of these companies, how well they have done, and just like what Thong Guan had shared, the benefits that they get from the program. So perhaps at this point, I'll just get Hanis to quickly refresh our plan moving forward. Yeah, Hanis.
All right. So this is basically our plan for this OCS program, where we have, like I mentioned, that the partner pledge only have about 3 years of time for them to implement these OCS practices. So in the first 2 years, we are actually like required for these registered companies to submit a yearly report where this is really important to just update us on what that has been done for this OCS program. So it's just like a very general update on what's currently has been progressed, has been implemented in your company, and how so far the implementations in this OCS program. But for the third year of this OCS program, we are planning to have a certification audit where this should be carried out before the expiry date of your own pledge certificate. So this certification audit will be generally to evaluate how you do the implementations in this OCS program. So we will have a review on your documents, on your procedures, what is the evidence that you have done for the implementation, as well as a site visit for us to see the implementation that has been carried out in your own company. So at the end of this certification audit, we will issue you a certificate of compliance to certify that you have implemented the OCS practices. So that's basically our plan for OCS Malaysia for this program.
Thank you, Hanis. So like what Hanis mentioned, moving forward, those companies who have already signed up, I think you are entering within year 1 of your program. So just like what Ms. Chai had shared, you could implement those measures that you have closer to, mid-year 2 or nearer to year 3. We will contact these companies to look into this audit process. currently internally, MPMA is exploring how we can do this. We are talking to a number of third-party organizations that we can work with to conduct this audit. So we will keep members updated on the progress, and as we improve this structure as we go along this OCS implementation. Anyone else has any additional questions? You may also unmute yourself and post the questions directly to the speakers. Or Ms. Wee, if you have any comments, questions.
Okay, just curious to know, Ms. Chai, in your implementation from the start to a stage where you feel comfortable that you have covered all the areas that you need to control, how long does it take for all this to happen from the day you implement to the time where you feel comfortable that you have? Maybe you can share with us.
Yeah, I think this week we actually is like to be honest, we haven't like really come to like the stage that we say that you say, yeah, that's it. That is actually because there are always like the room for improvement. You see, so I think this is actually a continuous improvement process lah. And also like we also like just now what Jaden shares and Hani shares in like the some of like how other people doing it actually is also some take home ideas like for us that actually we can share with the team. Yeah. And but like to answer your questions, like how long we need to come to like the stage where we are like from the zero. I think it's actually basically for the first 2 months, right? We have the meeting almost every week. Every week like to ask like the projects team leaders, we actually like divided the areas for them, like this person's the PIC for in charge of a certain areas to give the and like certain tasks assigned to them, like engineering teams or the PIC in the certain productions area. And to ask them like to updates and give the pictures, report on the status of the implementations, and also like even like shows like the training records and like the checklist that they have done. So that is actually the first 2 months is actually almost every week. Okay, so we to speed up the to expedite this process. Then after that, then we see like certain things that's been like fixed and like agreed upon, and then it's like it's actually come to like the monitoring systems. Yeah, then it's like yeah, then you actually like self reports on like certain matters. It's actually more on like the housekeeping, but there are still like areas that we actually like see we actually improve further. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing, Ms. Chai. So in that sense, I think I should also ask Jaden one question. Jaden, how does your company communicate this OCS with your transporter?
Wow, thank you, Ms. Wee, for your question. So I probably need to check all the details with my logistic team, but I think just now we share a little bit, right? So I think OCS is a guideline where we also sort of like finding information from the guidelines that we shared. Like after you sign up, you get to know like what are the best practices or the recommendations. So of course, I think the logistic team, most importantly, will share with our vendor on what is required, because I think now we also have a very stringent kind of quality control, and of course you got to meet some certain requirement, only you can work together with us. So I think how we communicate is really put up the expectation on you have to achieve certain like I say the requirement, and we will give them the guidelines after referring to the manual of the OCS, things like that. So yeah, I think that is how we manage and the communication. Yeah.
All right, thank you, because that is also important for us, because most of us here as a converter, we are at the receiving end. And yeah, I do see sometimes, when the truck arrive, some leakages has already happened, maybe of the journey and all that. Yeah, but like you said, this is something that we need to tackle one partner at a time to make sure that the whole supply chain involved is very well aware of this OCS. Right. Thank
Fully
you very
agree with
much,
you.
Jaden.
Yep. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, maybe I can just add to what Jaden was mentioning. So at Dow, like we have this global team that is involved in driving OCS program with various value chain partners. So there is one integrated supply chain team dedicated to collaborate with all the vendors, so that not just includes the road transportation, but it also includes the various shipping lines. So Dow is working very closely with all the shipping lines that you can see today, and they are also evaluating the mechanisms within their structures, that how they can kind of contain the pellet loss. Even with the logistics vendors, Dow is making a very conscious effort to get them to sign a pledge, and how, even on the road transportation and within the premises, how can we really limit the pellet loss. So I can tell you, like, the scope 1 today, which is any spillage within the premises of the Dow facilities globally. That includes the road transportation from the warehouse till the exit gate. So till the exit gate, Dow has implemented, at least globally at all of their plants and warehouses, that there has to be zero spillage of any resin into the environments. There has to be zero leakage. And further, outside the exit gate, then there are these various vendors, which are third-party vendors. So we are, getting them on board as well. So Jaden shared in his presentation today that how within the Asia Pacific, different warehouses and sites, we are getting them to first implement the best practices, and then, they can definitely come and take the pledge. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Neha.
Thank you. I have one follow-up question to Ms. Chai, actually. Maybe I think member companies could also be wondering about this. For you to implement OCS, the various measures that you have shared, definitely there will be cost involved. So are you able to, in general, share this cost the cost involved in implementing OCS? Is it a very huge one, or just to get a feel of it compared to the savings that you have shared of 300K annually? So I think from there, members could perhaps see the comparison.
Yeah, I think like I don't see actually like the cost issue here, because actually just now you see the measurements that I shared is more kind of like like aluminium screen, okay, and and like around surrounding the compound you actually have like these brick barricades, okay, and then it's like and the stopper, and actually it's just some the material cost, because actually we do it in house. To be honest, we customize it and then we do it in house. Okay, but I don't think that actually is that even though you get like the outsiders to help you to do that, it's actually will be actually very costly. So honestly, actually throughout that there is so many internal OCS meeting, like none of our productions or like a PIC was actually telling us that actually the cost is actually too high for them to implement any like measurements that we talked about just now. So actually I really don't know the cost, because they don't even like highlight it. So I don't think that actually the cost involved is actually a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, great. That's great news.
Yeah.
Because I think all these measures, they are very simple,
Yes, it's actually very
yeah,
simple.
yeah, correct.
Yeah, Crystal,
Even like,
maybe I also like sorry, Miss Chai.
yeah, so, no, I say that even though like the covers for the this storage bin, okay, is like the metals, and then actually they do it, they customize it themselves, and so it's just some material costs that involved lah. That's not really much.
Yeah, just want to
Okay.
add a little bit. So I think as Ms. Chai mentioned, like this is you know, by implementing OCS, there's many possibilities. Like there's no like one thing that very specific that you have to do it, but there's a lot of different way that we can be creative to implement it. So, and also I think this is a journey. It's not like overnight you can complete everything. So I think as long as we start and step by step, if cost is a concern right now, you know, we understand that the market might be challenging, but I think it's more about the concept, the awareness that you have this kind of commitment in your company and share it across, you know, to your employee. And we start step by step, implementing some of it and further improve it throughout the journey. I think that's the concept of OCS. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Jaden. I think we'll just address one last question, then we can wrap up the session. And I think this question is very much a very good question actually to end up the webinar. And I would like to pose this to Ms. V actually. So this question here is asking, is Malaysia going to implement legislation with regards to plastics material handling in the industry sooner or later? So I think this question very much tie up, you know, the importance of us implementing OCS now. So maybe Ms. V, you want to elaborate on that?
All right, thank you, Crystal. Yeah, I think that's a very pertinent question. And it addressed the reality of the issue. Right now, it's on a voluntary basis, and we all know, Jaden spoke about it, even Hanis, that the whole world is looking at the plastic industries. And the plastic pellet loss is just one of the many photos of plastic pollution out there that we have seen. The others we may not be able to control. If you look at the plastic bottles on the beaches, for example, we can't control that, right? Because that is maybe thrown by wind or by people littering. But plastic pellets definitely comes from our factory. We cannot say that it comes from somebody else's kitchen. So plastic pellets, the ownership is very clear. It's the petrochemical plant, it's the plastic manufacturer, it's the recycler, it's the transporter. Yeah, I would say all four of this. So voluntarily, I think just like Thong Guan's tagline, sustainability is responsibility. It is our responsibility, even though it is not mandated. Yeah. So that's number one. Will it become mandated? Personally, as the chair of Sustainability Subcommittee in MPMA, I truly, personally, in my own view, I truly think that this will be mandated. When? I don't think it will be next year, okay? But some of you may know that we are in the midst of a global plastic treaty discussion, and we are already entering the third meeting of the 5 meetings in total, and it will end of next year. Whatever law that comes out from this discussion, it's affecting everyone worldwide. And could OCS be one of the requirement mandated? We don't know, but I feel that even if it is not mandated, we have to do it. Yeah. So I really feel that, and plus, like Ms. Chai has already told us, there's a lot of savings there. And I see one question from Jane. I think maybe Jane was asking for what is the KPI of OCS? Of course, MPMA has their own KPI. Maybe Jane is asking for if our company implement OCS, how do we measure our success? Just like Miss Chai, I would say probably we should know how much resin that we lost right now. I'm sure we have this report every month, right? And then after implementing this, and we see whether this pellet loss has reduced. That is also directly our cost saving for our company. Yeah. So I feel that mandated or not, we should be prepared to go on this journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Wee. I think that makes a very good summary and very good ending to our webinar today. So thank you to all participants for joining us. The recording and the slides will be available on MPMA's website after this. So do check it out and feel free to share it to your colleagues who aren't able to join us today. So we look forward to your participation in the OCS program. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot it over to Hanis or myself, and we will do our best to address your queries. So with that, thank you so much, Ms. Wee. Thank you, Jaden. Thank you, Ms. Chai. And everyone have a nice day ahead. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.